Hi, this is Cole from Smudge Wellness, and today we're going to be talking about relationships through the context of the seventh house, the house of partnerships, relationships, and contracts. Now, the seventh house in astrology represents all of our one-to-one relationships. And when we think about the signs and the planets that sit in the seventh house, it shows us not only our expectations about how we should receive love and how we should be engaging with others in these relationships, but also too our expression of relationships and how we astrologically just happen to exist whenever we might engage with one person. The seventh house in astrology is ruled by the descendant, right? Which is why a lot of people tend to notice people who have a lot of placements which relate to their descendant sign or potential same sun sign as the descendant in their chart and have a natural attraction and a natural understanding, because those are the people who radiate that natural energy about how we love and how we like to receive love. So now when we contextualize the seventh house in astrology as it pertains to relationships, we can better understand how to be more committed to ourselves and to others when it comes to how we engage with them. Now let's look at the signs that rule over the seventh house and what they mean, starting with Aries. When Aries rules over the seventh house, there can sometimes be a sense of selfishness as it pertains to love and intimacy with other people. However, people that really are going to make you feel that strongest sense of love are the ones that allow you, one, not only to be the pioneer, right, the fire starter, the one who goes after things in the relationship, but also give you a sense of freedom, right, allow you to be independent and allow you to have that sense of self-expression in a relationship. That's the most important thing to think about for people who have Aries over the seventh house. Now, when we also think about Taurus ruling over the seventh house, a completely different context, a completely different tone. Taurus over the seventh house is all about that sense of structure, all about that sense of stability, all about that sense of homeness. These are the people who want to be close to you, want to have that sense of physical, sensual touch. Taurus over the seventh house is all about being physically there and being physically present. The keynote for people who have Gemini over the seventh house is communication. You need partners, you need one-to-one relationships that thrive in communication. Very, very communicative, very, very open, very, very free, fun, expressive, witty, all of that great stuff. These are the people who need intellectual stimulation to feel as though their sense of love and their sense of relationships are satisfied. Now, when Cancer rules over the seventh house, it's all about nurture, right? It's all about support for others. It's all about being bonded. It's all about being connected. It's all about that mutual understanding of like, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Cancer is the mother, right? So it's all about that sense of saying, okay, can you give me the sense of support that I need emotionally and then also too physically, because I'm gonna give it right back to you. When Leo rules over the seventh house, it's all about warmth. It's all about bravado. It's all about drama, conflama, extravagance. Leo in the seventh house is incredibly loyal, incredibly devoted, and incredibly present for their partners. They can sometimes want to be at the forefront, right? Be the one who's much more the star of the show when it comes to relationships. But Leo in the seventh house is incredibly there and incredibly present for the people in their lives. Now, in Virgo, it's the seventh house. It's all about the sense of service to others, right? It's all about being the wheat bearer. It's all about that sense of purity and perfection. It's all about saying, let's bring out the best in all of us. It can be a little particular at times though, right? It can be a placement that is a little bit choosy, a little bit picky, and a little bit judgmental. However, at the end of the day, they can pinpoint easily the imperfections and flaws throughout relationships and learn how to solve and create a better one. When Libra rules over the seventh house, that is the prime spot, right? Libra unnaturally rules over the seventh house, so it's all about balance, it's all about harmony, it's all about community, it's all about interconnectionness, right? Libra in the seventh house, though, needs to make sure that you find out what are the things that make you individual in the relationship. You need to make sure that you don't overexert your sense of balance, right, and your sense of compromise to make sure that you lose yourself, right? We want to make sure that it's a two-way street, right, that you guys are able to find harmonious partnerships by giving and receiving to each other. And then when Scorpio rules over the seventh house, you need to watch the sense of suspicion. Right? You need to watch the walls. You need to watch the barriers. You need to make sure that you can look and say, you know what? I'm going to find vulnerability. The trust is hard to find with Scorpio in the seventh house. However, the physical intimacy, the very, very much the prowess of being interconnected to each other, right, is very, very strong once it is found. It just needs to get over that hurdle of vulnerability. When Sagittarius rules over the seventh house, it is the true essence of free-spiritedness, right? These are the people that tend to like a sense of exploration, right? A sense of unique identity, a sense of just going with the flow in the relationships. They cannot feel tied down. They cannot feel restricted, and they cannot allow their partner to be a little bit oppressive of them, right? They need a partner, and they need partnerships and friendships that allow them to just go flit off and do whatever they want for a couple of months. When Capricorn rules over the 7th house, it's all about loyalty. It's all about structure. It's all about finding that sense of understanding and grounded security within each other. They like a sense of practicality, they like a sense of straightforwardness, and they like to know what they're gonna get out of relationships with other people. There needs to be a good sense of grounded support though, right? It can't just be one person supporting the other person. They have to be able to work together harmoniously to create a really strong power couple. When Aquarius rules over the 7th house, it's about finding partners and finding people in your life in one-to-one relationships who help bring out the individuality and who celebrate the fact that you are a unique person and a unique spirit. Right? It can be a little bit go with the flow and aloof as it pertains to emotions sometimes, but at the end of the day, the most harmonious relationships are the ones that are going to help propel you to continue to learn, to discover, and to grow as a unique perspective. And then finally, with Pisces over the 7th house, it's all about love, it's all about romance, it's all about that just natural, intuitive feeling, right? These are the type of people who have this placement who say, I get it, right? You're the one for me. I can't explain why, but I just naturally feel it in my gut, I feel it in my bones. They need to make sure that they don't overexert the sense of service for others though, right? Making sure that you find that balance between, all right, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna be supportive for you, but you gotta bring it back to me as well too. Now that we've looked at the signs ruling over the 7th house, let's look at what happens when the planets fall in the 7th house. Now, just keep in mind, if a planet doesn't fall in your 7th house, that's not a bad thing. It's nothing to worry about. It just means that this particular activated energy isn't present in your chart. Now, when the sun sits in the 7th house, it's all about the expression of the self through relationships. It's all about saying, okay, here are the people in my life who help bring me to the surface and bring my self of ego, right? My sense of identity to the forefront. The sun in the 7th house is really about shining and being a beacon of light for the one-to-one relationships. When the moon sits in the 7th house, you naturally are going to gravitate towards people who are going to make you feel that sense of emotional release, emotional expression, emotional security. These are the people who naturally make you feel connected and strong. The moon in the 7th house can also too sometimes wear their heart on their sleeve as it pertains to their partners and their relationships. But at the end of the day, this is where the true sense of vulnerability in a one-on-one interaction comes from. When Mercury rules over the 7th house, it's very fun, it's very light, it's very airy, it's very communicative. These are the type of people who really, really thrive on intellectual interactions in a one-to-one relationship. Yes, because Mercury is such an intellectual sign, sometimes it can be detached emotionally, it can be a little bit cold. It can be the type of placement that sometimes is like, you know what, they were a great person and I learned a lot from them, but it's okay that they're gone from my life now. But at the end of the day, it really is based on that sense of communication and finding people who are able to have that discord. When Venus sits in the 7th house, I mean, can we talk about love fest, right? Can we talk about that sense of intimacy, that sense of giving, that sense of support, that sense of just true passion and love and beauty is very, very strong. It is all about that sense of harmony and that sense of balance with relationships. Find people who stimulate that sense of community, that creativity, right? And find people who stimulate that sense of one-to-one understanding with each other. When Mars sits in the 7th house, I'm not gonna lie to you, it is a little bit of a challenging placement because Mars is all about action, aggression, passions, desires, getting what I want done. And relationships, the 7th house, it's all about compromise. It's all about how are we, right? What are we doing? So it needs to learn and it needs to understand that sometimes we got to step off the gas. Sometimes we have to reflect and say, is this what's best for the partnership, or am I just letting my own sense of desires lead the way? It can make for some pretty hot, steamy romance, though. I will say that. Now, when Jupiter sits in the 7th house, it's all about optimism. It's all about possibilities. It's all about growth. It can bring such great, expansive, and beautiful relationships into that person's life throughout their life, right? These are type of people who tend to have a lot of different partnerships, a lot of different relationships in different contexts, but all have a positive growth and learning tone to them. When Saturn sits in the 7th house, there's a real serious tone as it pertains to relationships, right? These are the type of people who have a level of personalized self-respect and understanding, in my opinion, as what they deserve and what they want in relationships, right? They're the type of people who say, no, I'm not gonna go on a date with you because you don't match my energy and you don't match what I want. Saturn in the 7th house can tend to be the people who are a little bit more rigid, a little bit more straightforward, and a little bit more strict about how they allow people into that intimate circle of one-to-oneness. Uranus in the 7th house is all about rebellion. It's all about innovation. It's all about saying, is this relationship giving me enough growth, right? Is it possibly restricting me? Is this relationship allowing me to expand, right? To have really, really unique and sort of powerful ideas. It can bring a sense of volatility, right, with relationships as well too. Some that can come in really quickly and leave just as quick as they, started. Uranus in the 7th house needs to learn that sense of stability and that sense of trust with their one-to-one relationships. When Neptune sits in the 7th house, there's a natural sense of sensitivity and compassion that exists, right, when it comes to the one-to-one relationships. But we need to remember as well, too, that Neptune is all about glamorizing things. It's about sometimes being a little bit hazy, a little bit cloudy in our perspective, but also, too, sometimes being a little bit suspicious, right? Needs to watch the sense of, all right, where is this love coming from? Where is this intimate connection coming from? You can really, really tap into your intuition and know whether or not this is something that is just overindulgent or something that is really, really passion-driven. And then finally, Pluto through the 7th house. There's a lot of power, there's a lot of intensity. There also, too, there's a little bit of suspicion that lies with this one. Pluto in the 7th house needs to make sure that there isn't, too much control coming from one spot or the other, right? There is a good balance of the power dynamics, because Pluto can sometimes throw the power dynamics out the window and just say, nope, I'm just gonna do it the way that I want to do it. So make sure that it watches the balance. And with all of that being said, now that we understand the influences of particular signs over the 7th house and then the planets when they sit in the 7th house, we can better understand how to work towards being more committal to our one-to-one relationships and our one-to-one partnerships. Really saying, okay, now that I understand hypothetically, I'm a Pisces 7th house and I've got my Mars in there, I might be someone who constantly pushes and constantly goes towards, giving service to others. And I forget that, wait, I have to be open and vulnerable as well too. So now that we have that contextualization, we can really, really make sure that our sense of commitment to others is much stronger and much more open. And with all that being said, my dear sweet little chickadees, I'm sending you all so much love. I hope that you enjoyed this little mini series between how to be committed to ourselves and then how to be committed to our relationships. If you want to know more about astrology, about tarot, about crystals, about spiritual wellness in general, make sure to check out Smudge Wellness on YouTube and on Instagram, and check out our blog, The Dirt. Sending you all so much love.